Okay. You pop up in a different square. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, certain COVID-19 protection measures are extended as they relate to MGL 30A, Section 20, the open meeting law. This meeting of the City of Westfield Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information can be found on the City of Westfield website at www.cityofwestfield.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by tuning into Channel 15 or Channel 12 or online at westfieldtv.org or online at youtube.com/Westfield Community Programming Channel. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Roll call. Carl?
I'm here.
Tom?
Here.
Bob?
Here.
And I'm here. So we barely have a quorum, but we do have a quorum. Okay. Item 2, does anyone in the public like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none, item 3, public hearings. 459 Russell Road, Tacoma Country Club. Applicant requests continuance to October 12, 2021. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Carl?
Yes.
Tom?
Sure.
Bob?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item B, 898 Southampton Road. Applicant requests continuance to October 12th, 2021. We have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Carl?
Yes.
Yes, I'll vote
Bob?
yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes. Item C, 0 South Meadow Road. I'll recuse myself from this, and Tom will take over this particular application.
Okay, see you later. Item C, South Meadow Road. Let me read the legal language. In accordance with the provisions of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, a public hearing will be reopened on September 28th, 2021 at 6:30 by virtual meeting regarding a notice submitted by Brixmore SPE 6 LLC to amend the order of conditions issued under DEP file 333796 for work located at 0 South Meadow Road. Are one of these little squares out there the engineer to present this to us?
Yes, hello everyone. This is Ryan Nelson from our Levesque Associates.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey guys,
Yeah,
how are you?
I forgot this was yours. How are you?
Good. Been very busy. So one of the reasons why we're bringing this before you is because of timing and everything, and I can explain. So let me share my screen here. So we worked for Brixmore for the new Aldi's building, which construction has began, or the site work at least. And in tandem with that project was this comp storage area on South Meadow Road to offset that new building. Since that time, Brixmore has discovered the need for additional comp storage for other endeavors. And we were hoping that we could include those additional volumes into this site while construction is ongoing. I guess the benefit to this would be, we could get the comp storage constructed in one linear phase rather than coming back next year, redisturbing the area again, having to revegetate and stabilize everything, and going through this whole process twice. We would amend the orders of conditions to revise this comp storage area, which is going to be slightly larger. So the work area the plan, sorry, let me back up. The plan we're looking at now is the revised plan. So this is slightly larger than what was approved under the NOI. So the footprint within the riverfront area boundary, which is this line right here, is essentially the same. What we're doing is we're just taking that bottom elevation of the pond, if you will, we'll call it the, the lowest elevation of this basin, the 125 contour, and we're just pushing it farther away from the river, so gaining more volume, and then we push back some of these other contours. So I believe the limit of work has only expanded about 8,000 square feet. And the majority of the work of this revised work is taking place outside of the 200 riverfront area boundary. And that would, all other parameters are staying the same in terms of construction phasing and sequencing, and erosion controls, which I do believe Meredith, myself, and Gieler Construction, we already had our pre-construction site visit, and all of this is underway. So we're hoping that we can get this squared away while construction is still occurring, and we can get things buttoned up before mid to late fall.
Hey, Ryan, when this project was when the Bixmore project was being considered, I think we combined site visits, and Carl, I think you were over here, and Bob, I remember you there also. When we stood there and walked up the hill, how did we enter this, looking at this map you've put in front of us? We came in from kind of
sure. So South Meadow Road is here.
Yeah.
And Little River is here. So that kind of barway through the break in the trees to the river was right here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I remember this site. It was real muddy, as I remember. At least one time we went to visit. But long and short, Ryan, you're basically going to be digging this hole a little bit deeper. Can I say it that way?
Correct. Yes.
I have a quick question, Ryan. How soon is your time frame? Are they going to move on this pretty quick?
They're working on it today. So, within the next week or so, they hope to be done.
Because the seating window is kind of running out.
Right. So that's, part of that was out of our control because all the rain this summer, things got delayed in terms of start and finishing time. But our hope was that, if we get it finished within the next week or so, it still gives us a couple of weeks in October to put some rye seed down and get things hopefully germinated.
Okay.
So Gieler is very aware of the closing window here.
So Ryan, I'm leaping to the conclusion that because you need more comp storage, that Brixmore has expanded I know it's a separate issue, excuse me, a separate conservation matter, but will you be in front of us? Whatever they're doing, they're making something bigger, correct? Or why do you need more comp storage?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say entirely at this moment, but it would be other future projects. But yes, those projects would come before you, obviously, in the near future.
So it's not the Aldi site specifically then?
No.
Okay.
So this would be beneficial for any additional work to be done?
Perhaps. Yep.
Yeah, well, I don't see a problem with that. As you said, you would just have to come back to us next time, and more than likely, we would let you dig in the same hole. All right. Any further questions on this? It looks like Meredith, you want to weigh in for us? anything to say?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so as you know, this is the same comp storage area that we permitted for the Aldi building location. So this is the area that is the comp storage area for that building. And then because it will be bigger, I assume they will be using it for another project in that same vicinity in the future. And, we've let them bank comp storage already on this. So it made sense to me if, to permit this now, given that like you said, Tom, they're going to come back and ask to permit it in the future. Why not get it all squared away now and revegetated? I mean, that's my main concern, is getting this thing built and revegetated and then stabilized as soon as possible. I don't think going back in there next year and digging it out again is going to be, it sort of defeats the purpose of stabilization this fall. So one other note is that if it, because we wanted this done by September 15th, but given the summer they really couldn't start in on this until recently. So I think, they're going to have to get it done and potentially use erosion control blankets or other means and methods of stabilization if the seed doesn't germinate by the end of October. So just a side note on that. But the contractor has been working closely with me. They've kept me in the loop. They complied with all the pre-construction conditions. And Ryan is actually going to be doing a weekly monitoring out there to keep us in the loop. If I can't get out there, just on progress reports and making sure that it's not eroding because it's so close to the river. So anyways, long story short, I think.
Yep, so it meets, it has your approval. What would you recommend as far as a new deadline? What date should we specify in the new order of conditions or the amendment to the order?
If I may add, I believe in our amendment letter, we're requesting, let's see here, an extension deadline, a seeded and stabilized date to be October 27th. And under the Mass DEP Inland Wetland Replication Guidelines for Hampton County, they say that is the last day of the growing season technically.
So if we change the deadline to 10/27, we're okay?
I think I was going to say October 30th, but yeah.
All right. And Meredith or Ryan, could we, not that I want to, but could we make additional amendments to the order of condition at this time? For example, if we wanted you to plant 12 trees, could we do this under an amended order of conditions? It gets filed the same way as the regular order, right?
Yeah, in my opinion, we have reopened the public hearing, which means we put an ad in the paper and notified the abutters. So we can change, we can change the order as necessary. If we need more trees out there, which we may, I think that's acceptable. And
do we want to do any kind of plantings?
We do have plantings from the first time around, these oaks within the field area, 5 oak trees.
Yeah.
I mean, our new amendment doesn't include any new tree clearing. It's the same limit of work.
Yeah. And as I said, that wasn't my purpose. I was really thinking of another project. Gentlemen of the commission, do you have any concerns on this? Carl? Bob?
I think since there are new trees that are additionally being removed, I don't think that there's a need to add additional trees to this order.
Okay. Any concerns overall? Ready to vote on it?
No, I'm good. As long as they go in with, they can load that up with winter rye and it's going to stabilize everything as long as we don't get a flood.
Okay. And Meredith, as far as the motion, if we just cite like you suggested in your number 6, that can we use just that language that we'll accept the new bordering land subject to flooding numbers and reference plans.
Yes, and I just have a request to have the chart in a Word document so I can easily put it in the amended order. Because we want to make sure we are citing the volumes properly.
Yeah, but we don't need to put that in the motion, I don't think. All right, so.
Right, no, that, and then we just need to open it up to the public too.
Yes, thank you. I was about to ignore that. Are there any comments from from our Zoom listeners, our Zoom participants? Would anyone like to comment on this project? Hearing no comments, I'll invite either Bob or Carl to give me a motion.
I'll
I'll
make
make
a
a mo-
motion. Oh,
Okay.
go ahead, Bob.
I'll make the motion, Carl. Just to give you a chance to sit back for a minute.
Sounds good.
So it sounds like Bob's motion is that we amend the OOC with the new BLSF numbers and reference plans.
Do we have to
separate-
close I'm sorry,
Oh.
we have to close the public hearing first?
Oh, all right,
Do we,
let's do
do we
that.
have any of the public involved in this, first of all? Nobody's said
No.
anything, right? So we're good,
No.
right?
But it's still I think it's still a necessary formality. Could I have a
Yeah.
motion to close the public hearing, please?
I'll motion that.
Thank you, Bob. And Carl, will you give me a second on that? To close the public hearing?
Yeah, sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Yes, I will second that.
Great, good. So we got a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor of that? Bob, how will you vote?
Yeah, I vote yes.
And Carl?
Yes.
I will also vote yes. So the motion carries. All right, Bob, I'll go back to you and ask you to just repeat yourself as far as the motion to amend.
I say that what's that? The additional, with the legal language, I don't have to read that, right?
No, if you're looking at the agenda, just read number
Yes.
6.
Number 6. Yes,
Yeah.
motion to amend the OOC with the new BLSF numbers and references plan.
Excellent. And Carl, will you second that?
I will second that. Yes.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion? In that case, all in favor. Bob, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
I also will vote yes. So the motion carries. Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Colleen, can you invite Fearless Leader back?
All right, thank you, everyone. This will help all parties involved, so appreciate it.
Thank
Great.
you, Ryan.
Good night, Ryan.
I'll get David.
Okay,
I'm
thanks.
here.
He seems to be
there.
back.
Okay,
Hi, David, you're in charge.
okay. I unrecuse myself now. Okay, item D, 0 Russellville Road. So in accordance with provisions Massachusetts general laws, chapter 131, section 40, a public hearing will be reopened on September 28, 2021, 6:30 p.m. by virtual meeting regarding a notice submitted by Sergei Kafanov to amend the order conditions issued under DEP file 333772 for work located at 0 Russellville Road. He's requesting to remove some trees to allow a electric line to be extended to his house. Okay, any discussion?
Oh,
I
I
have a
think we should
couple of
mention.
photographs if anybody wants to
Yeah,
see
go ahead,
those.
Carl.
Yeah.
Yes, Carl.
All right. Can everybody see those?
Yes.
All right. Here's perhaps the best one to start with. This is the pole here to the left that they will extend the line to the house. So they needed to go through this sort of brush area. And let's see, if I remember right, this tree that's right behind David is one of those that was marked. So there's obviously the issue where the crown is near the power lines. And going through here, they wanted to get rid of this one. We had actually suggested that this one perhaps ought to go as well. It's dead. So while they're taking this tree, they might want to take that one again, because it's close to the power line and no longer living. Within the a little bit deeper here, this tree that's leaning and this smaller tree here were both tagged for removal. The tree here in the background that was leaning had already fallen. So the idea was to just leave that in place, but to cut this one and to cut this one. And then the two closer to the road.
All right, thank you, Carl.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
Okay,
The other, Mr. Chairman, the other
Yeah.
discussion that we had, or at least that I flunk of out in the field, and I believe Meredith had mentioned it perhaps last week, was that we could ask that these trees be topped at, like, you know, underneath the wires, the height of the wires. So maybe topped at like 10 feet or 12 feet rather than cut closer to the ground. Does the commission see any? I do. I see merit in that. Does anyone else?
it will provide habitat and food for some, woodpeckers and other animals.
And eventually these trees, once they're topped, will die, probably within 10 years.
Yeah.
But they're in a location where that really shouldn't matter. I mean, they'll fall into a field, into a wetland field. So I'm good with that too. Bob, what do you think about that?
Sounds good, Tom. Carl, what's the overall health of those trees?
With the exception of the one that's dead close to the road, the others were in pretty good shape, although the one that is leaning had most of its roots pulled up when there were, I think, 3 trees together that had gone down to sort of as, and the roots had been mostly ripped up. So it had been a healthy tree, but it had most of its roots ripped up during the storm. So I worry about its long-term survival.
Thank
I
you.
remember there were plenty of other trees out there. These won't be greatly missed. And I also remember being told it's what the utility company is going to do. I mean, that's the line that they figured out.
Thank you. Meredith, you have something to add?
Yeah, I did speak with the Westfield G&E utility folks, and they confirmed that if we wanted to leave the trees, sorry, there's somebody that needs to unmute, not talking. I mean, sorry, mute.
It's not for money.
All right, thank you.
Sorry. So I spoke with Westfield Genie and they said that that leaving standing trunks 10 to 15 feet tall would be acceptable. They do expect the wires to sag a bit, but 10 or 15 feet, I think the wires are up at 20 to 25 feet. So it shouldn't, and I would feel like that would give us, instead of cutting the trees to the ground, at least we're leaving some trunks, leaving some carbon in the wetland and leaving some standing dead habitat, which critters really like. So, and also, this project does have a BVW restoration area. So I was going to suggest requiring additional trees and or shrubs to be installed in that area. I can show you on the plan where it is. It's really close to the site of the tree removals. And they were supposed to fill in the wetland. They have a permit to fill in the wetland next to the driveway, but I don't actually know if they did that. So, when they come back for their COC and they want to get their bond back, we'll have to get an as-built and check on that. But ultimately, we could ask for some dogwoods or something to be
If it's the area where the wire is, do you want trees to be put in there? Or
No,
just shrubs?
not trees. Yeah,
Okay.
it would have to be shrubs because
Okay.
Is
then
it
they're going to
really,
end up cutting them again.
Is it really wet, Meredith?
It's pretty wet. Yeah.
It's really wet.
Yeah.
You know me, I like Winterberry and wet.
I know
wetlands.
Winterberry's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking, well, there was a lot of dogwood, you know, I don't know if you weren't there, Bob, but there's a huge dogwood stand that unfortunately the large maple fell on top of. But I was just thinking maybe something that was already there, but Winterberry is also great. It would do really well in this area. So,
all right. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, any questions or comments from the audience concerning this particular project?
Yes, hi, my name is Mona Freiberg. I
Yes,
live at 160 Russellville Road. I'm just Southampton. This property abuts my property. Now, I have a lot of concern with this. They've already done enough damage to the property building this. Now they're going to take down more trees next to a brook, stream, whatever you want to call it, that feeds a fire pond. I don't know. I think I've said to Meredith, there's a hose that goes into that pond that they've put, or a stream that they put in that stream. So again, now they're dirtying up this water that's going into a fire pond that belongs to the neighbor across the street from me. These people just don't seem to follow any rules that you guys have set down or the building people have set down. Okay, yes, Meredith, you had said to me that the numbers that are up on that pole is a permit to build. But yes, they're building a foundation, they're putting in piping, they're running wiring. Where's the inspections for this? Aren't those supposed to be posted on the property? We can't see anything anywhere except those numbers that say whatever, DEP, DEA, I don't recall. Also, they work there 8-10 hours a day. There's one specific time I had to call the police because they were still running a dozer at 11 o'clock at night. Again, no regard for people around. So I had to have the police come in. Now, if they're working there 8 and 10 hours a day, where are they going to the bathroom? There's no porta potty out there. So who's to say they're not going to the bathroom on my property? Who's to say they're not going to the bathroom next to that brook? So again, it's just back to, they do too much. We try to tell you people, yes, Annika, yeah, you've come out, but nothing seems to happen. Nothing seems to get done. So obviously you're going to give them permission to take these trees down that are next to that brook. Oh yeah, you're going to put in new little shrubs. I'm sorry, I don't agree with this. And bury the wetlands? No. You know, the animals are struggling now as it is. Let's take away more from them. He's already taken every damn tree down out there, and he still continues to take trees down. So no, I don't agree with anything that is happening with this property. Not a thing. And neither do the other neighbors. I mean, granted, maybe they're not here tonight to tell you all this, but I can tell you right now, I'm going to continue to fight this. This is wrong. Take a tree down, put up a shrub. No, leave the trees. He's already cut a tree on the Southampton side. I'm trying to get a hold of the commissioner on Southampton. He was not supposed to touch that tree. Oh yeah, one side got hit by lightning. So he takes and tops the whole tree? No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with anything these people are doing. Nothing. That's my opinion. You guys are going to do what you want to do, and I understand that. But again, I don't agree with anything. Nothing.
well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I mean, maybe we need to invite the applicant to the meeting. Maybe we should continue and have him come and, you know, I can't be out there all the time monitoring every project that goes on in the city.
And
We also-
believe me, we understand this.
And he already did have this was permitted, and then we had to issue an enforcement order in 2020 because the applicant went beyond the limit of work, cutting trees. So we have an enforcement order, we have a restoration plan. It does seem to be one thing after another. I just, you know, that's a good point about not having a porta potty on site when people are there for hours and hours. I didn't see the hose in the brook when I was out there, but doesn't mean that it wasn't there. So I'm not sure. I mean, I agree with Mona in a lot of ways. I'm not sure the applicant understands that he's building a home in a pretty sensitive area.
Well, we can continue until we get that person into the meeting. What's the sentiment of the commission?
It's clearly, if we feel that he's being environmentally insensitive, we should invite him in and talk to him. But in this case, Mona, I was told that the utility advised us that if he took an alternative path from the road to get his power back to the house, that it would involve many, many more trees than the 4 or 5 that we're discussing tonight. As far as peeing in the woods and things like that, that would be a Department of Public Health issue. It wouldn't be a conservation issue. And I'm certain that he has pulled his permits, but if you question that, you could verify with the city. We have a pretty limited scope in what we're trying to do here tonight. But what I saw looked like the obvious way to go. Again, as far as these trees. But again, I'll go back to what I said is when I started, perhaps we should invite the landowner in just to help him understand more fully that this is a sensitive area. Mona, whenever anybody builds a house next to you, it's a nightmare. So I appreciate what you're going through.
I understand all this, but his continued of taking the trees down. We hear the chainsaw. He's not cutting what's already been cut down. He's not cutting that up. He's cutting new stuff up.
Which is his right. It's his right as long as it's not
But
within.
near the brook?
Well, no, that would not be correct. No, and I'm sorry, I didn't get over to that side of your property, so I don't know what you mean on that about that tree. But I looked at these 5. It seemed logical. It seemed like the way to go. I would encourage us to approve this tonight.
Let me ask you this. Is there any other way he could have the electrical come in? Could he have it come in from the Wyven side instead of going through that wetland there?
I don't know. Meredith, you spoke with the utility company. They kind of thought this was the way to do it, right?
They said first of all, Westfield Genie can't put any poles in Southampton. So that's one of the problems. My question was to the applicant, why can't you get electricity from Southampton? Because there's no trees to cut or wetlands on that side. And he said his driveway, his address is Westfield. So, and that is when you're going to be cutting trees in a BVW, you are supposed to look at alternatives. I imagine it costs more money to get, I don't quite understand how this works when an address is in Westfield, but the driveway's in Southampton. It's beyond me on how that works. But I met with Westfield Genie. They said that putting one pole, well, he's getting 2 poles along his driveway, but this was the least impactful because if they go along the road, they have to clear all the trees along the road. That's a lot more trees. I'm not a fan of cutting in wetlands. It's really too bad this wasn't thought of during the original permitting, but it wasn't. And now this person is building a single family home and needs to get electricity to the property. So I don't know.
It just seems he's doing a lot without permits. He's got a well, he's working on a septic. I mean, where are the permits for all this? My understanding is permits should be visible on the property. If people are saying, is this guy really doing the right thing? Are these things being inspected? What if I don't need a fire in my backyard or find out their house is burning down because the house was never inspected properly?
Well, for the conservation, he does have a permit from the conservation perspective. That's why he has the DEP file number. We don't inspect the septic, and I believe he has a well permit. I can ask the health department. But I'm going sort of outside of my lane, but I can certainly ask.
Okay, so this is something then I need to call, like, what, the building commissioner, see if he's got permits?
The building inspector, the building office, and the health department. So the health department inspects the septic systems. Well, they approve the septic plan. Hopefully he has approved septic plan. We just permit kind of like the limit of work in the buffer zone or wetlands. So the well permit, I do sign off on the well permit when it's brought to me. But it goes to the health department. Health department issues well permits, septic plans, and permits.
Well, they dug the well last fall.
Yeah, I probably signed off on it if you got a permit. I
Okay.
can't remember right now.
I will add that when we were there, I tried to look around a bit. I didn't notice any sedimentation in the stream, and I didn't notice any cuttings, although again, we didn't do an extensive visit of the entire property. We were kind of limited right to that part where the pole goes in.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, Scott Duncan takes water samples on a daily basis, and it's just unbelievable, the sediment he's getting in that pond. And it's it's like he said to me, Mona, I can't be there because I'm not in a butter. But he goes, the sediment I have in this pond is unbelievable. It's out of control. He said, how do we use this to put out, how do we use this? It's a fire pond. How do I use it the proper way when I got all this coming in?
All right.
So, all right. Like I said, I understand you're going to give them their permission to take those trees down, but I'm going to be calling the building inspector, the health inspector, and I mean, anybody can build a house. I have no problems with it. Just follow the proper rules. Don't work at 11 o'clock at night, and I've got to call the police because I can't go to bed because they're running a dozer or they're running their chainsaws.
Well, thank you.
I mean, they're just out of control.
All right, among the commission, is there any, I guess, consensus to continue this until we can look at the entire property, or do you want to just address what's on the agenda right now?
I think perhaps that it would be useful to continue this just to bring in the property owner and make sure that he understands the limits of this permit and sort of the importance of the parts of the property. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Anyone else? Bob?
I have no problem with that. I don't think that will cause a great hardship to wait 2 weeks.
Okay.
No,
I do caution the commission, like Meredith said, Mona's inviting us to get into other people's lane of traffic. Public safety, public health, that's a whole different issue.
Well, we can
Building
go up and look at the limit of work and make sure that, that has been followed, because we did describe what the limit of work should be.
Yeah. And we can also reinforce, what a beautiful piece of property he has, and shouldn't he want to help protect it, to not harm, to be a good steward. So yeah, let's bring him in.
All right.
I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing until our next meeting.
Okay, do you have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none. Carl?
Yes.
Bob?
yes.
Tom?
I'll vote yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Good night, Mona.
Good night, and thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Meredith will be going back out there. Okay. Okay, item 4, public meetings. 1515 Granville Road. Again, meeting continued from September 14, 2021. Asking area and boundaries, no work proposed. Meredith, you've got an update from your site visit?
Yeah, we were able to do a site visit at the West Parish Filter site yesterday. And we met with the applicant and the consultants out there. We looked at the resource areas. We did end up finding some BVW, some wetland attached to the intermittent stream that they were thinking wasn't jurisdictional. In my opinion, it is jurisdictional, and they've updated the plan. I
Mhm.
think they're here tonight if they want to present it to us. Tom was also at the site visit, so he can speak to that too.
We have a proponent from the applicant to show us the new plan.
Yep, sure. Yeah, this is Tom Touche. I'm a wetland scientist for AECOM.
Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, thanks. And let me see if I could share my screen. I have a couple different screens here. So let's see. Okay.
So Meredith, that's what Tom's face looks like when we were on the site visit.
I did not
Yeah.
recognize them.
Yeah.
Had this big white, construction hat on, and then of course the COVID mask.
Yeah. I was
And
gonna say-
sunglasses.
And
Yeah,
so that's right. and sunglasses.
Yeah, not much visible, but yeah. So yep. So this is the. Can you see the plan at all?
Yep,
Yes.
we can see your plans.
Okay, so yeah, so this is the revised plan, and as part of the RDA, the three elements of the three elements shown on the plan that we were kind of seeking concurrence with either jurisdictionality or non-jurisdictionality was the sedimentation basin, the discharge channel that leads from the sedimentation basin to Cook Brook, and then there was an intermittent stream located up gradient of the basin. So in the RDA package, based on our review of the regs, it appeared that the sedimentation basin would be jurisdictional as land on the water, an inland bank, as well as bordering land subject to flooding, because it is mapped as FEMA Zone A plain. And then also the overflow channel from the basin, would be jurisdictional as an intermittent stream because it lies down gradient. So the part that we were investigating yesterday also was the intermittent stream up gradient. And as we saw up in the woods, there is an area that that could potentially be BVW. So under the state regs, it would then make the intermittent stream jurisdictional because it would flow out of that. But I did do another review of the City of Westfield Ordinance 1109, and actually in the ordinance it does say that intermittent streams are jurisdictional, and it doesn't specify whether or not they would need to be up gradient within or down gradient of another resource area. So I think so I definitely agree with our site visit yesterday that that upper intermittent stream, it's Series IS one here on the plan, would be jurisdictional. So we had adjusted the label on the map that you see here, and we also added a note too, where we mentioned additional resource areas are present in the vicinity, but not not particularly shown on this particular plan. So, and those are pretty straightforward, and we did view those as part of the site visit yesterday. But currently we don't have any definitive plans or any impacts in this particular area. So we didn't include that as part of the RDA. But as projects do get developed in the area, then we'll submit those as well as the line work for the wetland areas and data sheets as part of notices of intent, as needed as SWSC goes forward with their projects. So but the main thing was basically just to get concurrence with the sedimentation basin, and then these other two features we added in because they physically touch the basin. So
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any comments from the commission?
What is the the yellow, the 100, I know it's labeled 100-foot buffer zone. That kind of, what is the 100 feet from? Is that from the sedimentation basin?
Yeah, so the 100-foot buffer actually is shown on here, is from the sedimentation basin. And then there are a couple of wetlands that we had seen yesterday. I don't know if you could see my cursor at all. I'm not sure if it shows up.
And
But there was I'll kind of move it around a little bit, but there was a BVW, I think it's wetland W2, that's like right at the shoreline of the basin, that contributes some buffer as well, as W3, which is the one that we saw across the road, and then connected to W2 with the culvert. So yeah, it's basically like additional 100-foot buffer zone from these other resource areas that aren't shown on here. So
Yeah. Okay, good.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Tom, thank you. Thank you very much for doing additional research after the site visit with West Springfield and confirming what your feeling was and what Meredith's feeling was out in the field. I have it was a productive site visit. I have no problem with the modified or with the newly presented plan that we're looking at. So I'll be voting that yes, this is jurisdictional. And yes, I do agree with what Tom has put together on paper.
Meredith, do you have another comment?
Tom Sharp just pointed out that the buffer zone, so now the buffer zone isn't reflective of what's actually there as far as the intermittent stream and the BVW above it. I don't know if that matters, but this plan isn't entirely accurate because there's many a few wetlands that are out here that aren't mapped, and then the buffer zone is now not accurate.
Yeah, I agree that the buffer zone by IS1 here, this upper intermittent stream, that could be modified. So what would happen is the buffer would actually extend upslope a little bit from from where it's currently shown. So like in this IS1 area.
Right.
So what do you want to do, Tom? Do you want to bring it back to us or?
I could fix it tonight and email it back if that works. It would just be in this little IS1 area.
Yeah.
And it would go too far because when I buffer off of the upgradient most flag, which I think is IS1008, it'll come out to the west 100 feet and then kind of connect with what's already there. Off on the eastern side, it might not make too much of a difference, just because there's already a 100-foot buffer. But yeah, I can buffer that and then just kind of redraw that and then send it back tonight.
Yep.
And do you think we should have a note saying that the buffer zone isn't entirely accurate because there's other resources that won't be buffered, that weren't flagged, that aren't buffered? Do you even need the buffer zone on there at all?
We actually don't. So that's I guess that's another way of working with that.
It would be good to reference it, but just say maybe 100-foot buffer zone not shown. Or I don't know. It's hard for me to approve a plan that's not entirely accurate, but I get that you guys are just asking about these particular resources, even though there's other resources out there.
Meredith, I understand, but if they come back with an NOI, and flag it, we can still determine where the buffer zone is at that time. I mean, they're just asking for a determination on the area that they're identifying.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, any NOI, yeah, it'll have the full, the full flag lines and full buffers, for that. So we were just trying to find a streamline this particular map so it didn't get too confusing. But yeah, I could see how the 100-foot buffer zone is maybe a little bit confusing.
So we can remove that. We can motion and remove the 100, ask that be ignored or removed. And Tom can update the site plan for us. Meredith, I don't, your recommendation, I don't get the difference between the two alternatives you propose. Would it be a clear positive one now?
Yeah, I was thinking we would issue a +1 and a +2A. The area is jurisdictional, and then the boundaries as shown on this plan are accurate.
All right, but the end of your sentence is and a 100-foot buffer zone, but you want to
Oh.
not reference that anymore, correct?
Or maybe just add a note that say no, it's probably important to have it on there. But maybe Tom could add a note that says it's not entirely accurate because there's other resources on site. Just add to the note that's already on there.
Or why not just approve it as a +1? Leave 2, I mean, what does 2A do for us?
It clearly states what resources are out there.
But that's where we're a little confused, is what resources are out there. So if we do it as a +1, and as David said, but when they get ready to put a shovel in the earth, they're going to have to come back to us anyway.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
In that case, I'm ready to rock you with a motion when you're ready, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, let's go back to 2A for a moment. Is +1, Meredith, enough to cover this whole thing? Or I can see why you put in +2A to include a description of what the areas are.
Right, it's more specific. +1 is so generic.
Right.
And also it says the choice, the +2A says the boundary delineations on the following resource areas described on the reference plan, which we were provided with a plan, are confirmed as accurate. So
What if you?
either we can strike buffer zone,
Okay.
or
Could you just say the buffer zone of the sedimentation basin?
yeah, definitely. Yep.
Would that clarify it better? When they
Right,
come back to
I
the
can also
NOI, they're
have-
going to have to
Yeah.
identify the buffer zones for the intermediate streams anyway.
Yep.
So why don't we do that? Then we can approve it tonight.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any
Yeah,
other,
at Tom's point, I think it is important to reference all the resources, not just the area, because that's so generic.
okay. All right, any other questions? Any questions from the audience concerning this particular project? Seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Bob,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes. All right, entertain a motion on the recommendation.
Yep, I'll give you a motion that we make a determination that this is a +1 and a +2A. On the +2A, we're going to strike language about 100-foot buffer zone and just refer to it as the basin border zone. And was there something else, David? Was there a second thing that?
No, what I suggested was that the 100-foot buffer zone of the sedimentation basin. Because that's what they drew.
Of the
All right.
sedimentation basin only. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I'll ask that my motion reflects that wording.
Okay.
I'm willing to second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none. Bob,
Yes.
Tom,
I'll vote yes.
Carl,
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Tom.
much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep, bye-bye.
Thanks.
All righty, item B, 137 Sander Road. In accordance with provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, a public meeting will be held on September 28, 2021, 6:30 PM by virtual meeting regarding a request for determination of applicability submitted by Jorge Barbosa for the removal of an existing garage and construction of a new garage located at 137 Sander Road. I guess not. Meredith, any concerns about this application?
I thought I saw I think the people were here earlier. Are they not there anymore? Okay, I don't see them. So yeah, I did a quick site visit. I can show you guys some photos. They sent me a little plot plan. It's an existing garage. It's right on Horse Pond. Nice little quiet neighborhood. And I mean, I really didn't have a problem with it. There's already an existing garage there. They're basically replacing it in kind. I think it'll be slightly bigger, but let me show you the plot plan. Oops, hold on. Share screen. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. And I can show you a Google map of Sander Road afterwards too, but basically the pond is over here to the north. There is an existing house and the garage is right on the road, on the edge of the road there. So they're proposing erosion controls around the work area. They're going to be demoing the garage and building a new one. So I thought this was a nice plan. And the whole property is within the 100-foot buffer zone. So let me see if I can show you some photos.
And sorry, Meredith, just a quick, so the footprint of the new garage is intended to be exactly the same as the old one. That is correct, right?
No, it's actually going to be a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger.
What did it say on there?
But it's not going to be any closer to the pond, is it?
No, I don't think so. Where did it go? The old garage is 17 by 18 and the new garage is 22 by 22. So it's slightly 4 feet closer. Here, let me go back.
Meredith, we're not, so now we are.
So I believe the grayed out area is existing, and then it's going to be out to the side a little bit and back 4 feet. So it's the new garage will be 65 feet from the pond, rather than approximately 60 feet or 70.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, let me stop. Do you want to see a couple of photos of the property?
Sure.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So this is the existing garage. The house is in the back. They have a walkway here. I believe the garage is going to be over the walkway now. Let's see. There's the pond. They have a little yard in the back. This is looking facing away from the pond. This is the garage here. Pond. Oh, I wish I got a picture with the pond and the garage. I couldn't do it with the topography. But basically the garage is right on the road. So can you guys see there's the pond, the resources back there.
Okay,
I don't know, it seemed like they're not really impacting the buffer zone much more than it already is.
right.
And they're staying outside of 50 feet. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's Meredith, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's an existing, it's not like a new garage where they have to cut down a bunch of trees. They're just expanding what's already there, and it's probably been there for 30 years or more. My only suggestion was to perhaps, they have a little yard in the back and they kind of mow 1 foot off of the bank of the pond. And I was thinking maybe they could at least give it 5 feet rather than basically mowing up to the pond edge. So that was like my suggestion for an improvement to the resource area.
Yeah, and it would add a little bit of shade to the water. So it's a good suggestion.
How's that appeal to the other commissioners?
I think I'm good with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that idea as well.
All right, any other questions or concerns?
Well, I guess I did have one more. Meredith, do you know if that walkway around the garage is going to be replaced or just not used?
So from the plan, I'm not sure. It would seem as though it's just going to be demoed, and that will be where the existing or where the new garage is going to go. I guess we should get clarification.
As long as it's loomed and seeded, right? And
Right.
stabilized. So, yeah.
Oh, I should add a note to forgot to add a note to the conditions about loaming and seeding and stabilizing before erosion controls are removed. But my only concern, are they gonna now then put the walkway beyond where is that your concern, Carl, where the new garage is
Yeah,
going?
so if they move the walkway outside the new garage, they're going to increase slightly the amount of impervious area, although a fair distance from the pond. So it's not to me, it's not a huge issue, but I just was curious.
Yeah, they didn't say that.
And maybe their choice is to not have a walkway either.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they need
It's
one.
not, it's not on the plan, so we approve what's on the plan.
Right, so they would have to come back.
Right, if they want a walkway, then they're gonna have to come back to us.
Yeah, to me, it seems relatively straightforward, and I'm happy with it. As Tom says, it's outside the inner 50, which makes me much more comfortable about that.
Mhm.
Okay, any other concerns? Any questions from the audience concerning this particular project? Seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Okay, a motion on the recommendation.
I'll make a motion that we approve with a -3 determination with the conditions that erosion controls must be installed prior to the removal of the existing garage, that the commission will be notified when the work takes place and will approve the erosion controls also prior to the start of work. Also, that the lawn may continue to be mowed, but only up to 5 feet from the pond edge.
And
And then the only other thing I heard was that the erosion controls stay until the new lawn is established? Something to
Yeah,
that
thanks.
effect?
I forgot about that one.
That's okay. There might be more. I don't know. That's the one I remember.
Anything else you want to add, Meredith?
Oh, just that last one that Tom mentioned.
In that case, I'll make the second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item 5, enforcement. There is none at this time. Okay, item 6, discussion. Up at Chassac Street to Maderos Way, Eversource Energy. Request for certificate of compliance. So I need a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
I think one of their consultant is here. He might want to present. Is Paul Knappich here? I don't see him anywhere.
Yeah, I'm here.
Nope.
Meredith.
There he is.
How are you?
Sorry, you're lower down on the squares here.
I am. I'm right
Sorry.
on top on my screen.
know.
so.
Yeah. Where you belong, right,
I have
Paul?
no control of these squares. Maybe I do. Anyways, hi, Paul.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Appreciate the commission considering this matter. You may remember this project from a couple of years ago. It involved installing a new line from essentially near Pachasik Street north up to Maderos Way, from a new switching station site up on a hill off of Oakdale Ave up to an existing substation off of Maderos Way. And the project was largely, the structures were largely in place. If you remember, I think a couple of you on the commission were on at the time, but the structures were essentially in place, 6-arm structures where they merely installed wires on bare arms on one side of the structures. There were structures that were replaced. And in order to install wire on the bare arms, they needed to access those structures, some of which were in wetland areas, whereby they used temporary matting. So Meredith and I did a site walk out there, most of it last week. And the project has largely been complete for the last year and a half or so. So the areas are pretty well vegetated and restored. There were a couple of bridges that were installed, one of which was off of Pachasik Street, where there was an existing access road that had a very undersized culvert that was exposed and partially damaged. So the plan was to remove that culvert, keep the invert basically of that culvert as the stream base, daylight the stream there, and also create wetland beneath that bridge. We did look at that particular area. And then further upstream, there was an undersized culvert also that provided access to the right of way, but also to the Phelan farm property. And we used that for access. We needed to go through the APR program for that. But we replaced that culvert with essentially an open bottom box culvert, daylighted the stream there, and provided restoration and better stream flow in that area. So again, the project was largely matting and wetlands, but where we did need to get access to otherwise inaccessible areas up by Buck Pond substation, we installed a new bridge up there as well. Partially filling wetland that was approved, but that fill was compensated for down by Pachasik Street. So again, we provided inspections throughout construction. We had a slew of other permits as a requirement of the project that were all adhered to, and those permits have all been closed out. So this is kind of the last permit in place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
Just that once again, Paul, I was I've always been very, very satisfied with the work that you guys do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Eversource certainly would appreciate that comment as well. They go to great lengths to make sure that the projects are completed as expected and in a very environmentally sensitive manner. So
Yes.
I'll pass that along.
I think it just makes it easier on us too.
Yeah, no, we realize that, and that's why we try to make your job easier. So yeah, thank you
you.
very much.
So we have a motion and a second, correct, Colleen? All right, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Oh, yes.
and I'll
I'll
vote
vote
yes as well.
yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and have a
That's it,
great
Paul.
evening, everyone. Yep.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
Item B, 89 Fairfield Ave. And need a motion to approve certificate of compliance.
So this never got filed, or is it just that did they lose it or something now that the property's changing hands?
Yeah, it never got submitted.
It probably never got requested.
They're requested, sorry, yeah, and it's being sold, and I was able to communicate with the new owner's lawyer and let them know that there are resources out there and that, any new work, they're gonna need to file with us, because it's kind of they have wetlands on one side of the house, a stream on the other. It's an existing house, so hopefully they don't need to do anything, but I did let them know they will need to file if future work happens, so I feel
All right,
pretty
thank
good.
you.
Boy, wouldn't that be fun, Meredith, if you as the administrator were somehow able to be aware of like the top 100 sensitive properties in Westfield. And when they changed hands, someone goes out there and introduces themselves as conservation and, what a beautiful property and, but you got to take care of it. We probably could save ourselves a bunch of headaches. I don't know how we could make that happen, but isn't that fun to think about? That
Yeah.
maybe someday there'll be a computer that does that for us.
Or send a postcard, Tom.
Yeah.
Welcome to Westfield. You have wetlands on your property.
Yeah.
Sure, they'll love to get that one.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance.
I'll make that motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Item C, 75 Ridgeway Street. We need to ratify emergency certification for replacing an old brick manhole structure. Entertain a motion to ratify the emergency certification.
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Item D, 34 First Street, Jeanette Peretti. Request to remove 5 trees outside the limit of work. Again, Carl and Tom and I were out there Saturday. Meredith has been out there as well. Did you get out to that site, Bob?
No, I did not, David.
Okay.
I was tied up Saturday.
Well, as you note, Meredith talked to DEP, and we can put the topic on the agenda and record our findings in the minutes. So we don't have to basically ask for a new application from the applicant.
David, the email that I saw had an attachment. Did you open that attachment? It was some kind of rules from DEP. Meredith, did you open that attachment?
Yeah, that's why I was, Mark Simpson originally sent me that amended order policy. And then I replied to him, I said, look, we have this issue with additional trees being cut in the buffer zone. And he said, if the commission, which is not in that policy that I sent, he just said, if the commission thinks it's a minor change to the plan, they can just put the item on the agenda, discuss it, and then the minor change will be reflected in the minutes. So I think tonight we have to decide, is the cutting of 5 additional trees outside the limit of work on a permit that we already issued, a minor change.
What, Meredith, what Mark sent you was recommendations from the DEP. What was that document?
That was their amended order policy, I believe.
So it's what we should follow, right? What troubles me is that there's no public input, in this process. But I don't know if you can share that or not, but if you can, I read that to number 3 on that list was that you'd had to advertise, that you did have to post it. We could still amend at a meeting, but I didn't think it was a shortcut to just go from no public notice to allowing work in a sensitive area.
Well, I think
Unless we don't have to follow that, unless Mark was saying, hey, this is something else you might want to consider. But I thought it was the rules for amending.
So those were the rules if we feel that a major change is going to happen. If a major change is going to happen to an existing permit, then like we did tonight on 2 projects, we have to file a notice, a legal ad, and notify the abutters because it's a major change. So with minor changes, which this one appears to be, we can just discuss and it can be reflected in the minutes. And the commission has that discretion. What's a major change versus a minor change? It was my recommendation. Tonight's a good example. We amended an existing permit and reopened the hearing because somebody wants to cut trees in a wetland. So that's important to let the neighbors know that. That's important to re-notify, reopen the hearing. For cutting a few trees in the buffer zone, I don't know. I guess it's up to the commission, but I didn't think that should be considered major.
Can you share the document that I'm trying to recall?
Sure.
Thank you.
Let me see. Okay. Yeah, and I didn't see what Mark, I can share the email that Mark sent too. Let me see.
Meredith, would this slow down any progress in this thing, or could we just?
This would, if we just discuss it tonight and decide if cutting trees in the buffer zone is minor, then we'll be done with this. If it's a major, it's a major revision, then we're going to have to reopen the hearing or have her file an RDA. So there is a legal notice published. So if she came to us and there was no existing permit, I would have had her file an RDA because cutting trees in the buffer zone is the permitting pathway.
So maybe we should stick with that.
Okay.
Is there any fee associated with that RDA? There isn't, is there?
There is. They have to pay for the legal ad,
Okay.
which is around $200. Trying to find this email.
I'll throw out, I'm of a little bit of 2 minds here in that I don't think that cutting 5 trees is a minor change. And I'm also a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that we approved it and then they came back and said, well, but we want to do something different or sort of additional. On the other hand, I hate to have the homeowner incur additional expenses based on what we're, I think, in her mind, just trying to make it safer around her house. So as I say, I'm a bit split on that.
I'd have to agree with you too, Carl. That's, you know,
Yeah, it's hard when consultants are doing this, when they're pushing these projects through pretty fast. They're trying to minimize the impacts as much as possible, but then you get out there, or the homeowners out there saying, oh, these trees are going to impact my new house. I don't know.
I'm looking at the
Yeah, can
letter
you
that,
share that, Meredith?
Oh, here, sorry.
I'm looking at the amended orders documents from Wetland Protection Act. And it says the issuing authority must determine whether it warrants a new NOI or not. So even if we say we don't need a new NOI, if you look at number 2, scroll down to number 2. Keep going. That's good.
keep
Further?
going. A little bit more.
Yeah, keep going.
There you go.
Okay, that's good. So it looks like even if we decide it's not severe enough to need a notice of intent, it still needs to be put in the paper, published in the paper. Yeah, look at number 3 now. Yeah, scroll up for all of number 3. So if we don't need a notice of intent, we should still need to publish a newspaper notice and follow the requirements of a butter notification as if filing a notice of intent. The request for amendment must be submitted to the state as well. So there's no mention of minor here at all.
Well, yeah, this is if we think it's minor, we follow this procedure.
Right.
If we think it's not minor, we do an RDA.
No,
That was
NOI.
my whole first reaction to this is what good is this? Let's just do the RDA. The RDA gives us additional protections that the amended order of conditions wouldn't. The RDA allows us to specify that there should be replacement plantings. So I think, unless you disagree, Meredith, I'm reading that as even a minor change requires newspaper notification. You've got to let the public know. That's why we're here. You've got to let people know that Joe Blow is going to chop down 5 trees that are on the right, real close to the water.
All right, Meredith, I see where you're getting the idea that we don't have to do that. If it's a minor one, I guess.
Yeah, it's confusing to me too, but this is what Mark told me.
Did he mention what a minor change might be?
No, I think that's up to
Up to us.
yeah.
I think it's a change, but I don't think it's a minor change. That's all.
Yeah, and I agree that the written policy and what Mark seems to be saying seem to kind of conflict.
Right. So you see why I'm confused.
Yeah.
I know, and I am it's difficult because I am dealing with the members of the public and they're not happy and they're sick of paying. And I couldn't remember if the woman said that we this is the second time she had to file the legal ad. And I was trying to figure that out, but
Well, they did for the notice of intent.
yeah, she did that for the NOI, but did she have to, I can't remember, and we'll have to look back at the minutes if we had it amended.
Already?
Because remember they were going to do, we wanted them to do pervious pavers, but then they came back to us and said that was going to, that would be a detriment to the new retaining wall because water could potentially undermine the retaining wall with the pervious pavers. I can't remember if that was,
But that, I don't think we asked them to resubmit that one. That was a minor change, I think.
Yeah.
But this one, when you got 5 trees within 10 feet of the, of the lake, or maybe within 15 feet of the lake. And, I don't think the onus is on us. I mean, the onus is on them and their contractor, to look ahead and see where the building's going to be relative to the canopy above it. So,
They probably should have came to us and said they wanted to take 25 out, and we could have said you can only do 15
yeah,
in the beginning.
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so what's
they
the,
don't-
yeah, sorry.
they've only taken 1 tree out so far, right?
No,
I-
we saw evidence of several trees, David. That big stump as you looked up toward the road at up the top left-hand corner, that was coming out. The tree, the one that was on the fence, the neighbor's fence, and he kept digging closer and closer, but
Okay, so there's
clearly that tree was gonna go. I was surprised by how many trees are missing. I think the plan refers to it. It shows 1 tree to be removed. It's
Mhm.
labeled 1 tree to be removed,
Mhm.
but that's water over the dam. I
Right.
agree with what Carl and Bob are saying that we should tell the applicant that they need to issue an RDA. They need to do a legal ad. We need to do it the right way. And Carl, yeah, I feel bad for her. It's another $200. That hurts. But we've got to make the decision to do it the proper way. RDA.
Do we do that, or we just ask for request to amend the NOI? It's going to cost money either way.
It'll cost exactly the same much either way. Again, I think the RDA allows us to make conditions. I don't know if the amended order of conditions does. So therefore, that's why I keep thinking, start with an RDA.
I would think if we amend the order, we can tack on anything we want, because the order's reopened, basically.
What would be the advantage of that rather than treating this as a whole new ball of wax?
Well, with the NOI, we'll issue fines or increase the bond, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And I hadn't thought of that either. So maybe the NOI does give us better protection. And I've got to
What do you
assume
think, Meredith?
that if you're notifying the public that we can make changes to our requirements. We can specify, yeah, now you owe us 4 more trees or 6 more shrubs or whatever we decide.
That would give
Yeah.
us more leeway.
Well, I think the chairman's right. I think maybe the NOI would give us better. If we had to hire lawyers and things, the NOI would be the stronger document.
What do you
The only-
suggest, Meredith?
Difference. So when you reopen a hearing tonight, you have to post the legal ad and then you have to notify the abutters. RDAs don't require a butter notification. That's the major difference, because the reason the Wetlands Protection Act is written like that is because RDAs are for minor projects that really shouldn't impact the resource area. So, I mean, some communities have a butter notification for RDAs, but that's in their bylaw.
Okay.
So the difference, there will be a price difference and a bit of an effort difference to re-notify the abutters. I don't recall any abutters coming, not that it matters, but there weren't any angry abutters on this one. In fact, the abutters want to cut down more trees to help this woman. So anyways, they're probably coming.
If you refer back to what you had on the screen earlier, I don't think that a butter notification is required. Definitely newspaper notification, but I thought that was the difference of doing an amendment versus doing a whole new NOI, is that you do not need to notify the abutters.
Oh, I
So
thought-
again, my understanding is the cost would be the same, about $200.
I thought you did have to notify the abutters if you
Yes, you do.
open the hearing.
Yes, you do.
On that thing Mark sent us,
Yeah.
it says that, okay, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Well, in that case, I'm back to RDA. I don't think we should make it even more expensive. What's a butter notification? $300?
Depends how many
Couple
abutters.
hundred.
Yeah.
Depends
We
how many
could do-
abutters there are.
We could do this with an RDA, and that would be,
And then you can permit, I mean, it's good for 3 years. You can say, yes, you can cut these trees down. You need to put X amount of trees or shrubs in. I mean, you can do, it's the same. It's,
So
Yeah.
I would
6 to
say
1.
I would say take the less amount, but you know, these people need to move on. You know, we don't want to nickel and dime them to death. So whatever's going to be cheaper. It's
Yeah.
all going to be good in the end, right?
yes.
So
I'll
I'll
say it for
Site
the final
visit,
time.
we sort
I
of
think
tossed
that-
out the idea of trimming those trees rather than taking them down. And the property owner was not very open to that idea. She really wanted to take the trees down. But I don't know if the commission would be more willing to think about trimming the trees instead, whether that would make any difference at all. I don't know.
Well, their argument was that there's no growth on the other side of those trees because it's all being hidden by other trees on the other side. So you got a lot of dead branches on the other side of the trees. And I saw that when I looked up, from the ground, looking up into the canopy. So, well, their concern is if we take them through, having to pay and going through this, and then we say no, then they've wasted their money. But we need to do it so that we have a good paper trail and do it correctly. So, well, it seems like the RDA is the method of consensus. Is that a fair statement?
I certainly would support an RDA, yeah.
All right,
I'll second that.
Okay. So I guess Meredith, you can refer back to the applicant saying, this is the way it's got to be.
okay.
I don't think we need a vote on it right now, do we?
No,
No.
this is just
Blame it on
discussion.
You have to blame it on Bob.
All
And
right,
maybe if you can sort of express that we're sort of sorry that it has to be this way, but it really does have to be this way.
They should have thought about this at the beginning, I guess.
Right, yeah, and it's not, we have to just do the right thing by the books, we can't.
And, with so
It's
many
not
people,
minor.
around the lake, they're trying to cut trees. We have to really be careful how we
Yeah.
control that.
Right. Okay, I'll let her know we need an RDA and
Okay,
that's that.
thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Right.
guys.
All right, item 7, minutes. Do you have approval of minutes? September 14, 2021.
I read those minutes. I thought they were great. So I'll make the motion to approve them.
All righty, second.
I'll second that.
Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
yes.
Tom,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. All right, item 8, wetlands ordinance update. Meredith.
We got the ordinance back with some comments that I need to go through, and I might need some help trying to figure out the answers, because I can share them with you guys, or we can David and I can maybe meet later. Do you want me to share the comments? They were interesting.
How
Hold on.
about, could you email that to everybody so we have a careful chance
Oh.
to really read
Yeah,
through them? Or-
I agree with that. I think we should just look at this before we make any sort of determination.
Yeah. Let's do
Okay.
that. Email it.
I'll
to
email
everybody.
it to everybody and just make sure when you open it, the law made comments, and they're like, you have to look at it maybe on a computer to be able to see the comments on the side. You know, they weren't within the text body. So hopefully, if not, let me know and I can print it off and send it and give it to people or whatever. So I'll send that to everybody and then hopefully we can have a productive discussion. I'm trying to go through it. It's just some of our questions I'm not really sure how to answer.
I think we all need to read through that first, Meredith.
Okay.
Okay, good idea. All right, item C, continuation of Zoom meetings. Yes, I'm all for it. What
Okay.
about the commission?
I'm good.
Carl?
Yeah, it's been sort of very convenient, particularly during the summer months, I have to say.
Yes. Tom?
Eventually, we're going to have to get back into real meetings, I think. I think we owe that to the public. You'll note nobody's with us. Nobody has been with us for the last hour. You know, I know we never packed them in to the building, but I could justify being uncomfortable with COVID still enough to justify doing Zoom. So, and I totally, this is, you know, your decision, David. Thank you for seeking our input, but it's your call. Legally, this is, you know, it's part of the chair's responsibilities. But I'm okay with a couple more months of Zoom if that's what you're thinking.
Or could we go to like every other meeting, Tom? What do you
I
think
don't
about
know.
something like that?
I don't know if that's what the state is advising or not.
You know, I think if we go back, then people aren't going to be happy with
Okay.
us going back and forth to Zoom.
So either you got to do it or you don't do it.
Right.
Confusing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So Peter, can we do both? Do it live and then use Zoom us live? Okay.
Right, because somebody has to constantly monitor Zoom, but also be in the room. That's. Yeah, I will say, you know, the city department head meeting, or went back to Zoom today.
You know, it's still out there and you're in an enclosed room with people, you know, from all parts of the city and you don't know, you know, their experiences or where they've been or who they've been with. So I'd rather keep it the way it is for now.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, was it February or April? I thought it was April, but maybe we could revisit. It's also going into cold and flu season. It's
Right.
just.
Okay, so we'll keep it as it is.
And revisit in February, or we have to figure out when the emergency order, I think until April, but we can revisit in February or March when it starts getting nice out again.
Right. All right, thank you. Okay, item 9, motion to adjourn.
Wait.
Oh, yes, Carlene.
Before we close, I'm going to be asking people to stop in or to track them down because I have a few schedules I need to have signed. I know I had you guys sign all those other things, but schedules are our bills that come in, so I have to pay our bills. So I'll be having you guys come in, or I can come to you also. I don't mind coming to you guys. So just wanted to let you know that that'll be coming up this week.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Carl?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Thank you, everyone.